If you onboard a new client wrong as a UK chartered accountant, you're risking a disciplinary from ICAEW, and in the worst case, a criminal liability. I know, crazy. So in this video, I'll walk you through exactly what you need to do, every document, every check, to onboard a new client properly, so you don't get in trouble. Whether you're a sole practitioner or you've just been handed the reins to do the onboarding at a bigger firm, by the end of this, you'll know the full process. So let me take you into it. All right, so there are 6 documents that you have to get right. You've got to do a professional clearance letter, an engagement letter, a new client form, a KYC know your client checklist, an AML risk assessment, and an identification form. I'll go through each one, what the regulator actually wants to see, the common mistakes that I've seen, and at the end I'll show you a way to do it, or a way I do it, which takes about 10 minutes per client instead of 2 hours. By the way, my name's Rob. I'm a partner in accountancy practice in the UK and the founder of Accounts Draft, which is an accounting workflow software for accountants that we use. Quick disclaimer, whilst I'm an ICAEW chartered accountant, this is just general advice, not advice for your specific firm. Your QAD or ICAEW reviewer is your source of truth, so don't sue me. Right, let's get into it. First, the professional clearance letter. If your new client is moving from another accountant, you write to the old accountant before you start any work. There's 3 reasons for this. 1, it's an ethical requirement under ICAEW. 2, and this is kind of the most important, is it's part of your anti-money laundering regulations, the duties you've got to abide by. The 3rd reason, even when there's no AML concern, the outgoing accountant might flag things like unpaid fees, a dispute, or concerns with like the client's integrity. All of this information you want before you sign the engagement letter and not after. Remember, you'll need the client's written authority to write to the old accountant. That's a confidentiality requirement. The letter itself asks for like one thing, so the wording matters. The wording is, are there any professional reasons why we should not accept this engagement? So that's the phrase. You'll also ask if they can share relevant background information. So they'll pass on last year's working papers and basically information you'll need to do the client. So you send it, you wait. If they don't come back to you, then you send another thing. And if they still don't come back to you, you might get ICAEW to chase them. So you might write to them. Right, so the engagement letter, that's next. This is the contract between you and the client. It's not optional. Every engagement needs one in writing, signed before you start any work. It needs to cover the scope of every service that you're providing, the accounts prep, the corporation tax, VAT, payroll, or kind of whatever it is, the fees or how they're billed. So it lists each side's responsibility, both yours and the client's, and it's the basis on which you can terminate. It needs to include the right schedules for each service. ICAEW publishes the recommended schedules for this, like the accounts prep, VAT, all of that. It's quite long, 150 pages, so good luck. But that's what you kind of need on the engagement letter. So a few mistakes that come up time and time again. First is it just takes too long to get sorted and the client's already been working with you like a few weeks before the letter is signed. That's a bit of a problem. The second, the old templates that you're using where they haven't been refreshed for years. They've got like old legislation in. That's one. And third, which is probably the most common, is not tailoring the letter to the actual engagement. So you're handling the client's VAT, but there's no VAT schedule attached, that kind of thing. And then the one that catches almost everyone is that services drift over time. You take a client on for accounts and personal tax, and then a year later, they ask you to do the payroll or their VAT. So strictly, you're supposed to issue the engagement letter every time you add a new service. That doesn't happen as often as like ICAEW would like. So the practical advice is refresh the engagement letter like every 2 or 3 years. The easiest way to do it is just to send it out of the accounts pack, and then when the client signs the accounts, especially if you're using like a portal or digital signing, this way they only have to sign one document, so they have to sign the accounts and the engagement letter as one instead of signing two different things. One edge case we kind of need to flag is when you have like roll-ups or company getting bought. When things get bought and rolled up into another entity, you need to issue a new engagement letter for the new company. The old entity might have been a limited company or an LP, but either way, it's a different entity, and so the engagement letter has to follow the entity and not the trade. Now let's get into the regulatory heart of it. The 4 documents that sit underneath the money laundering regulations. This is where most firms get pulled up in like QAD reviews, so let's pay attention to it. These 4 documents work kind of together. We've got the new client form, which captures the raw data, the KYC checklist, which confirms you understand who you're dealing with, the AML risk assessment, which shows either standard or enhanced due diligence, and the identification form, which proves you've verified each individual. Let me talk about each of these in turn. So, the new client form, this is your firm's like internal record of the basic facts. So for a limited company, that's the registered office, the year end, company's house number, number of directors, the control, those types of things. For a sole trader or an individual, it's things like their personal details, like their UTR or the business activity. So you're not just identifying the identity, you're identifying every individual behind it. If the company is 3 directors and a 30% shareholder who isn't a director, all 4 of those people need to be included in the next 3 documents. Which brings in the Know Your Client form, Know Your Client checklist. This is the formal document that records that you've done the customer due diligence. It confirms you've identified the client, the beneficial owners, and you understand the nature of their business. You understand the purpose of the engagement, and you've considered where they've got their funds from, where they've got their money from. If something on the checklist doesn't add up, the business model doesn't make sense, the source of funds, maybe they're a bit vague, that's kind of the moment to pause, either dig in until you're satisfied, or you might walk away at that point. So then let's go on to the AML risk assessment. For every new client, you need a documented risk assessment that considers, well, here goes, the industry risk. Are they in a high risk sector? Have they got crypto? Are they gambling? Those types of things. Then we've got the geographical risk. Does the client or beneficial owner have ties to a high-risk third world country, maybe? Next, are they a PEP, a politically exposed person? Basically, are they famous, or are they like the brother or sister of someone famous? And then finally, are they a high net worth individual? So you just have to do different due diligence on them. Also, the nature of the engagement. Is the work unusual or complex? You kind of score each factor and you come to a rating, either standard or enhanced. And that rating derives how much due diligence you're going to be doing. Typically, you'll need to save this in the permanent file with kind of the rest of the documents. Next, we've got the identification form. For every individual, you've got the directors, beneficial owners, partners. You need a proof of identity, like a passport or a driving license. You'll need a proof of address, like a utility bill or a bank statement. You often get the bank statement with the account, so that's not a problem. And then you'll need to do an ID check, like a smart search, electronic verification. This goes against like the sanctions lists and the PEP databases. And then finally, you've got to do a Google search, just to make sure nothing crazy is going on. So you've got to keep copies of everything, save them in the permanent file. You've got to sign them. Job done. All right. So you've got 6 documents in total. You've got professional clearance letter, engagement letter, new client form, KYC, AML, and identification form. Now, if you're sitting there thinking that's 2 hours of admin per client, you're right, it's a problem. So that's exactly what we were experiencing, and it was driving me insane. So I got really angry and said enough's enough, and then I did something about it. So I built a new clients form tool within my accounting software, Accounts Draft, and this automates like all of that. You need to review the output, but it now takes significantly less time, so thank God. So let me show you that, and hope you'll like it. Right, so let's use it to now onboard a new client, and we'll do it in full in this video. Yes, it is that quick, thank God. So we're going to do the accountancy practice that I work for. We're just because it's easy. So we're going to go for Mitchell Charlesworth. So we're going to search company. And it's this one, Mitchell Charlesworth Services Limited. So this goes straight from Companies House, and it gets all the data, brings it all back, and then from there you can review it before you actually go and like generate the forms. So here's all the data. So we've got all of the name of the client, Companies House, etc. So yeah, this is all from Companies House. There is a tiny bit of AI in it, just to make life a bit easier. But you need to know which ones are AI and which ones are straight from Companies House, because you can always rely on the ones from Companies House, but you can't always rely on the AI. It's not always right. It's pretty damn good, but you know it is based on probability. That is what AI is essentially. So the ones that I've got AI in is these ones. So it says AI generated. I'm pretty happy with them. Not a high risk. You know, this is me onboarding the accountancy practice that I work at, just as an example. But I know we're not high risk, so yeah, that should be fine. So there's so you've got your business information. You've then got the directors. That's a different Rob to me. My name's not Rob Davies. My name is Rob Benson-May. So he's the CEO at the accountancy practice. One thing I should mention, Companies House doesn't let you get the actual day that someone was born at. It only gives you the month or the year. Bit annoying, but you can get the actual day from like the passport, because you need to get the passport anyway. So yeah, super easy to fill out. I'd normally do this step right at the start. So I could then go back and change it later. But yeah, so we've then got the services. So this is like the important bit, because these are the things that generate the different schedules within the engagement letter. So you can go and add, so let's add a service, and you can add forensic accounting or whatever. That would generate a different schedule in the engagement letter. The one thing that is important is if you're doing the personal tax returns, as I said before, if you've got a limited company, you've also got to do an engagement letter for the personal tax side of things as well. So if you include that personal tax one there, that will generate engagement letters for each of the different directors. So right, let's move on. So let's get the name of my firm. I'm just going to say, that's the name of the firm. We're onboarding my own firm, whatever. Yeah, maybe I should have done a different demo, but it's too late now. Too late now. Right, so we're going to get a firm logo. We'll go here. Partner name, that's me. And we're going to say we get it from the website. If you want to do a footer, you'll just click more options and you can add a footer there as well. We don't need one. Does the client have a previous accountant? Yes. This is what gets you a professional clearance letter. So if they don't have an old accountant, you don't need a professional clearance letter. But if they do, you definitely do. So let's go and put XYZ accountants, and we're going to say Stuart. I don't know, whatever. Let's pretend that's the guy's name. So we're going to click go. I'm just going to quickly move this out of the way so I can see. Hopefully you can't see that on the screen. I don't know. Yeah, so it's generated all the forms. We can download these as a PDF or a Word document. I'm going to do it as a PDF for now.
when you're doing it, I'd suggest doing it as a Word document. The reason being is you need to review all this stuff after it comes out. Like, the onus is on you to make sure that like you've gone through it and you're happy with it. The software's got all the data and it's populated it to the best of its abilities, but you have to go and check these things. Like, there's a couple of things it hasn't done as well, which is quite important. It hasn't done the identification, the electronic ID check. So you'll have to use different software for that. We use Smart Search. I think we've used, is it Credit Safe in the past? I don't know. Maybe I'll add it into the software later where it'll just like, do these checks as well. Yeah, I've got to build it. So, maybe that's by the time you've watched the video, it'll be there. I don't know. So, right, I'm just going to click off that. So we've got the entity and we've got the director as well. So let's have a look at the engagement letter. Add free drawing. Oh, no, I don't want to see that. So, yeah, it's just a pretty standard engagement letter. I've shortened it to kind of what I can. We don't want a super long one, but it does have, like, it's got to be robust, doesn't it? You can't have some wishy-washy engagement letter that doesn't actually protect you, or doesn't help the client. Professional clearance letter as well. There you go. So it'll come up with your name as well, depending on what. It's the name of the partner that you input. So if I go back, think that's what that's what populates the professional clearance letter. And then there's a few other things as well, like the identification form and the AML. But yeah, you have to go through, you have to check these things. You basically just have a quick scan and make sure you agree with everything because it's already pre-populated to do everything. So for here, the AML risk assessment, we've said that there's no PEPs and there's no high-risk country connections, but you've spoke to the client, you'll know this. So that's just pre-populated. So you do have to review it.
All right. If you want to try it out, the link's in the description. Provided I haven't changed it by the time you watch this, there'll be a free demo so you can see it work on real client data before you commit to anything. If this video helped, hit subscribe. I make videos like this every so often. All aimed at UK chartered accountants who want to get a bit faster and maybe be a bit lazier. See you in the next one. Cheers.